Hello, welcome to FPL Gameweek. FPLIQ. What a start it is already. I'm FPL Hall Rob, and I'm joined today by TN Planner AU and Lucian Teacher FPL. And Ryan's replacement this week is his little girl. So here we are. Mine's rocking around somewhere. She's full of colds. Before we go into the introductions, though, we'll be kicking off with our player pick review for the 4 game weeks, and then the new 4 game week player pick, and then matchups. It's Liverpool against Arsenal. So that the questions that Lucian's provided this week. Does this match provide tipping points for any potential Liverpool and Arsenal assets going forward, apart from Tsimikas, Salah, and Saka? And defense, who will you be backing in the back line in this match, and who's worth keeping after this game? Before talking about the matchup, then we're going to be looking at Spurs against Everton. Has Pedro Porro become a template pick after his wonderful consistency? Is there anyone else in that conversation as well? And who do we see coming good when Son leaves for the Asian Cup before the matchup? And then, of course, captaincy. And because it's deadline today for everyone, actually, but for us, it's like 2:30 in the morning for me and Lucian. I think it's like 4:30 for you, Tien, or 5:30. The deadline for you.
5:30 a.m. I think.
So we've actually got a deadline soon. So we'll end with questions that you guys have, deadline day issues, and we'll be showing our teams for, I think, like the first time since, I don't know, game week 1 or something. It's been a long time. So yeah, we'll be doing a little bit more of a deadline day Q&A chat with you guys with any last minute decisions that you've got to make. I myself have not locked in anything yet, so that'll be the end of this stream. So Tien, how you doing, buddy? Everything good?
Yeah, good. Had a good week.
Sensational week.
Even minus the Solanke's points. No, but yeah, it was almost a full house of returns. Almost. Funnily, before the Solanke point taken away, Salah was my only player that blanked.
Yeah, I think now I'm on a grey arrow. I think I'm literally on my safety box because I took a -8 and it actually came really, really good for me, especially if Solanke's points would have counted, because a lot of no pointers, and the fact that even Solanke's 6 would have been good for me, but it is what it is. I'll ask your opinions on what you think the FPL game should have done. So they have cancelled it now. It will be your sub if you had Solanke or any other Bournemouth or Luton players. They're all nothing. There'll be a blank game week, and your subs will come on. Okay, so that's happened. That is now official. So I'll ask your opinions on what you think that move is after we've said hello to Lucian. Lucian, how you doing, buddy? You wearing your Wolves shirt today? What in the colours?
Of course, I'm prouder than ever. I mean, yeah, win, lose, or referee influenced. Yes, we'll take any game. I think this is like the one rare week where both my team and Wolves did badly. So I think it's signal for a change, right? I think it's nice to know as well that we are on the cusp of the halfway mark of the season, and it's probably the right time to reveal our teams for that anyway, since we've got like a triple header coming up, right? Tomorrow, tonight, 26th, 30th, it's just gonna be like, so I can imagine, like, our shows not getting much attention, and yeah, I look forward to all the shots that we're going to make over the next 7 days. Hopefully that'd be fun.
I think we pinpointed, I don't know, was it like game week 12? We were like, it's crazy this time. It's like 6 games in a couple of weeks. We won't be streaming for the next game week because it's midweek. So keep an eye out on some potential shorts going on the channel for like teams and any things that pop up, like another injury, and should we buy or sell a certain player. They might be coming over the week as well. It's Christmas. It's busy for most people. But because of the time zones and stuff, it's just not possible for us to do. It's thick and fast. Just going back to the Bournemouth Luton game, for my opinion, I've said before, I actually think the best way they should have done, they should have just stopped the game because it was like after 60 minutes, which is usually what you need to achieve, like that second point to show you've played a game of FPL. They should have left the points at that and given those points out. And then the replay should have just not been an FPL game. It should have just been a game of football that FPL fantasy football ignored. The reason why is that is actually still against the Bournemouth and Luton player owners because we lose 30 plus minutes of football. However, the way that they've just cancelled it and it's gone to your bench, all that's done is that all the people have Bournemouth and Luton players have lost those points, and now everyone else has been given the advantage of having a first teamer, and they can jump on a double game week when it comes along. So pretty much any Bournemouth or Luton starters have been hit twice. Once by having your points taken away, and twice by having any non-Bournemouth or Luton owners rewarded with a double game week where they can jump on at any time. It just feels like if they would have given the points out and just had the replay as nothing to do with FPL, no one else gets some kind of advantage. But now everyone is going to get a double game week, but not everyone had to sacrifice points this game week to get that double game week. So that's my take on it. Anyway, people are going to say it's biased because I am a Solanke owner. I would have just taken 6 points. I'm still only 4 points down because Archer gets 2. It's not like it's the biggest loss in the world, but it does smart a little bit because it just feels like everyone now has got a double game week and can jump on in the next sort of 10 weeks. Whereas, you know, we had those players in place for this game week to try and get rewarded. But anyway, Tian, what's your thoughts? Do you think it was just correct, just null, void, and replay?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is what it is. You know, unforeseen circumstances. Obviously, it shows that FPL had not planned for such a contingency. So they had no idea what to do, and basically they had to wait for the Premier League to, you know, announce what they're going to do with the game. And I think as soon as the game was announced to be replay in full, I think that was the only decision that, and I think it was a correct decision. You know, it's not good for us Solanke owners, especially those that don't have a good bench coming on. So I got Diaby's 2 point coming on. But yeah, it is what it is. It's just, you know, similar to those COVID last minute cancellations day. You know, if you are caught on the either the lucky side or the unlucky side, at the end of the day, it's just one incident in one game week, hardly season defining. Actually, I thought about it today, and I said, okay, well, some people lose like, you know, 6 points or 4 points or whatever. It's hardly anything. You make bad decisions every week, and you lose out on a lot more points than that. Like, you know, a wrong captaincy decisions
Captaincy,
or a bad transfer. I mean, yeah, it is nothing. So I think it was a correct decision. Yeah, I think some people got, you know, a little bit over the top with, you know, being so smug about Palmer's or, you know, Livermentos or whatever points off the bench. It's like, well, yes, you got lucky. That's it. Move on.
And that's that age-old debate, isn't it? FPL skill or luck, and it's always going to be both, right? It's always going to be both. Lucian, you think it right call?
I think no call would have satisfied all parties because nothing was set in stone. We don't like, as much as certain content creators wanted to set a precedent on abandoned matches. I think mm, mm, yeah, no solution would have satisfied all parties because there was already something at stake with the Solanke points. Mm, Tell you what, that match left me with 9 players. So really, it's more about the loss of opportunity, right? Because literally, anything can happen in the last half an hour. Solanke could have been sent off. I mean,
Yeah.
you just never know. So I I would say that as long as FPL are consistent with their rules, then everyone should be on board with it. Because I mean, this is an event that happens once every 2 decades. You know, it, so I wouldn't blame FPL for not being prepared. But at the same time, I do feel that there should be a backup clause to say that, you know, we'll just follow the Premier League's rules. It's kind of like I think there was this time Man United had a double game week in game week 38, right? Because there was an unknown suspicious device that looked like a
Yeah.
bomb in the Old Trafford Stadium, right? So, you know, things like that, right? It could have easily been abandoned, and there wouldn't have been like an extension to game week 38 or something like that. But they did replay it, so I mean, so I think people who argue based on what they have at stake are making absolute moot points because the bias is obvious. And instead, what I like to say is, um, what's the point, right? Because I understand that these little points determine the result of a head-to-head, for example. It's huge, especially in some mini leagues. So when cash is at stake, like sometimes outcomes drive our emotions, and not the other way around. And especially some content creators who are so hinged on the outcome. They think that the outcome of a particular player hinges on, I mean, it reflects their skill or their ability to make good decisions. And I don't disagree. In that sense, I do feel that FPL is 70% skill, where like the skill doesn't come in making the right decision. The skill comes in avoiding making the wrong decisions. Because I do feel that in most weeks making the right decision is fairly simple. But it's very hard to avoid temptation to making the wrong decisions. This is where, Rob, you and I, we fall into that honey trap or many a times. Yeah, so I've just told myself this week I'm just gonna ride on Tian's picking form and just do the obvious, whatever it takes until my team has developed a more sensible balance of template picks versus template breaker picks. And yeah, I'm just gonna start with that, restart from game week 19, treat it as if I've joined the second chance league, and we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, for me, it was just the time. I always just thought if you got past half time, sort of the result stood, and it was like the 60th minute, which in FPL, that's like you've played a game of FPL football. I think that's what. I mean, if it was like the 30th minute, I wouldn't be arguing. I think it's just the fact that it picked to 60, and I thought that should have been it. But anyway, we'll get back onto the more topical stuff, and we're going with our pick reviews. Speaking of Tien's fire picks so far this season, Ryan, who's not here today, he picked Zinchenko, who got 5-1-1-8. He basically got an assist and a clean sheet with 2 bonus while being benched for one of those games. So that's the point that we're going to, I think I bring up, maybe you guys will talk about later about Zinchenko. One of the bad sides is the fact that he was benched, and he is at times benched. He was also the most amongst the Arsenal defenders in those 4 game weeks, and he kind of kept true to his narrative of them being low-scoring games and Arsenal keep a clean sheet. He gets good bonus. Zinchenko, green pick for you guys. 5-1-1-8.
I think it's a green, given that a lot of defenders are not doing much anyway. So the fact that he got a clean sheet and an assist, so an attacking return and a clean sheet, and obviously there's a risk of him being benched, but yeah, it was slim picking, I think, around that time. So I think it's a green.
Lucian? Muted. He's so passionate about it. He doesn't want to discuss it publicly.
Sorry. Yeah, besides Trent and Porro, like if you were to try and fish out a third defender that did well, right? Yeah, I mean, pretty much Zinchenko takes the cake.
Yeah, we talk about him a bit later in the matchups. I think he's going to be a key one. It's just the injuries and benching issues. But anyway, moving on, midfielder. I'm disappointed. It was my pick, and I went for Luis Diaz with Liverpool. Super differential. It was something like 4%. Lack of competition because Diogo Jota out injured. Playing in that great attacking Liverpool side. He only just didn't play 40 minutes out of all 4 games. Which is a lot, especially for a Liverpool attacker, apart from Mo Salah. And he had Fulham, Sheffield United, Palace, and Man United. He got nothing. And if I'm honest, he never looked like he was going to get anything. I never watched any of those games and thought, oh, he looks like he's on. He did have one late disallowed goal, I think it was against Crystal Palace, but it was well offside. And apart from that, he had a maybe one half chance that wasn't even a shot. I think it was he was tackled in the box. Never felt like any return was coming, let alone a haul. Like, those are 4 good fixtures to have, and he's got nothing. But I massively imagine that I'm going to sell him this week. He's going to do maybe nothing this week and then smash Burnley, and then I'm going to be sat here like, oh, whatever. I can't hold him. It's between him and Diaby who goes for me. But yeah, it was prime. You're getting a pretty much nail Liverpool attacker, winger for those games because there's no rivalry, there's no competition, and he's done nothing, absolutely nothing. Oh, there we go. Then
Red as his shirt color.
what do you think?
As red as
It's
as red
Trent.
as his shirt.
Yeah.
No, I mean for Diaz.
Yeah.
A red pig as red as his shirt color.
Just why? Do you know like he always seems like he was involved. He always seems like he's not an attacker who's like he comes back a lot. He's not like a defensive attacker kind of thing. Like, he's always up there. Just never looks like he's gonna do anything. Lucian, what do you think about Diaz?
I'm just trying to find Luis Diaz's XGI for Liverpool the last 4.
Scroll. Next page. Click it about 4 times probably.
No, I mean, I'm just looking at it, right? Let's say if we added up all the XG involvement he's had over the last 4. Fulham, he stood out 0.57. He had that one big chance. United as well. I do remember he had that one shot in the box. That was saved by Onana. But yeah, he was quiet against Sheffield United and Palace, and I think that was the underwhelming bit because um I think any Liverpool attacker would have been really interesting, right? Most of us would have had at least 2 Liverpool players against these 4 opponents. And it's unfortunate that it's a red because I think, if you were to rewind to 4 weeks ago and say, is Luis Diaz a good differential pick as an expensive midfielder, let's say compared to Son Heung-min? I'd say yeah, I'd still pick Luis Diaz. Especially considering that Diogo Jota just got injured 4 weeks ago. I'd say yeah. I'd happily pick him again.
Yeah, because when I went back, I mean, I could have gone to Saka, who ticks along nicely, but hasn't exactly smashed Diaz. I could have maybe gone back to like a Bowen. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I was going to go to Kudus at West Ham because I just wasn't. I could sit here and name all the players that did really well these last 4 game weeks and say, oh, I would have brought them in, would have picked them. I just wouldn't. You're right. If I'd have gone back 4 weeks now, I mean, I brought him into my team. Like, I've not just picked him on the show. Like, I've literally brought him into my FPL side, and I don't think I would have changed it. I think it's just a big missed opportunity, and the fact that he was so low owned. I think he was something like 3% in my area, in my rank. Like, it would have been a huge differential, like an actual differential, not when people say, oh, it's a differential, like 20%, like 2%, massive differential, but. There we go. It is what it is. Lucian, you had the forward pick for this week. Who did you back?
I feel like this is probably the part where I should like mute myself and put on all the angry faces, right? uh yeah, well, there are enough memes out there laughing at Darwin Nunes, right? I think on Netted Hall we've called him like Darwin Nunes. I've called him Darwin Nuisance. Darwin Nuisance. He has just been an absolute nuisance. For all that promise he's shown, yeah, he's just shown that he isn't able to finish off good chances. I think the thing that people overlook, right, is that number one, gambler's policy. You don't buy a ticket, you don't win the lottery. So picking Darwin, I think everyone was already very aware that this is just, buying a ticket to win the lottery. Having faith in his ability to suddenly be able to to finish chances created for him because he definitely wasn't short of chances. Yeah, Darwin Nunes had quite a number of chances. So it's more of the fact that when he got there, he just never looked like he was trying for the bottom corner or placing a powerful header, past the goalkeeper. He just never looked convincing. I think the best shot he had was arguably against Palace, but he just smashed it against the bar, right? From a Mohamed Salah pass. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to call this a red. That's for sure.
He's
So
just he's
yeah,
like anti-Sun, or like just like the XG part, right? Like he's just the king of XG, but you watch him and people say danger and chaos, but for me, I think it's just poor finishing. I just think it's bad finishing. Like he's getting chances, but if you stick a good striker there, people will argue, oh well, he might not get in those positions like he does, but he probably would. Like a proper top tier striker. So
it's okay. I
that's
mean, you've just gotta try, and I mean, I just couldn't really name any alternatives, but that's the game we play. Arguably people should have gone 3-5-2. That's all right. It's okay. He's moved on, and we just learn from it.
I get it as a punt. It's a good punt, but I don't. It's gonna sound horrible. This I don't feel sorry for people who saw Watkins for Darwin. I just don't, because it might have just been one game. Watkins and Haaland are like the only two forwards for the whole season who are worth their salt. And I could see the opportunity, the upside. But for me, Watkins was going to play or he wasn't. And I just think even if it was for one game week, you just shouldn't have sold him for Darwin. But there we go. That's just me being mean.
Yeah. The
He
thing
did
with
blank.
Darwin is, yeah, he
Sorry,
did.
I just wanted to add that Watkins did blank against Arsenal and City in the end. That injury was a doubt, and he came back through despite the injury news, and he got 12 points out of that. But the blanks against Arsenal and Man City were absolutely expected. Yeah.
Yeah, that is fair.
Oh, yeah. So remember, like early season, like I think we picked like Jackson like 3 times in a row or something, right? And then the first pick review we said, okay, well, we didn't know, like it was unknown, and he had a lot of chances, so we gave sort of like green or yellow pick for that reason. But then by the third time we said it was red, because we should have known. So it's the same with Darwin. Like he's been doing this for 2 years, not just now. Like, it's not just like, oh, suddenly he hasn't, um he has a lot of chances, but he can't finish. He hasn't been able to finish since he's arrived in the league. So the fact that he does exactly what you expected him to do, and he still picked him, you can't blame for not knowing, right? So I think you expected him to, if you picked him, you must have expected him to do much better than he did.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Jackson's new to the league, whole new team, whole new manager, and he is slowly improving. He is getting better. But Darwin, it's like the same manager, the same system, pretty much the same core team, and he's still doing the same mistakes, the same stuff. So, yeah, I think that's completely fair. So we'll move on to the man in the picture. Tien was on the wild card, which means he could have picked any player in the entire game, and he's done it again with the pick.
Yes, so I picked Trent. So obviously we picked a lot of Liverpool players for that week, for obvious reason, right? So the fixtures were really good: Fulham, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, and Man United in the next 4. And Trent, opposite to Darwin and Diaz, he went on and scored 38 points in those games, or an average of 9.5 points per game. 2 clean sheets. I think at the time I predicted that he would get 2 clean sheets and 1 attacking return. So I was hoping to get 2 clean sheets and 1 attacking return. So he went on and get 2 clean sheets and 3 attacking returns. So 1 goal and 2 assists. So So yeah, so obviously, he did exactly what I was hoping that he would do. He turned up in all of the 4 games. I think he put up the best XGI amongst all defenders for those 4 games. He had a massive 6 big chance created as well, by far most amongst all defenders. And the one thing that went even beyond my expectation at the time was the bonus. Like, he was a monster. Like, he got 3. What was it? 3, 3,
3 out of 4.
Yeah,
3, and
he had
2.
3
So
against.
basically,
He
yeah,
had 3 against
yeah. So,
United. He had 2 against that one. He had 2 without a clean sheet, right?
yes, yeah. So one game he got 2 bonus, and then the other 3 he got maximum 3 bonus. And his total BPS was 153, which is 50% more than the next best defender, which was mental. So yeah, so I think that's a green pick.
Yeah.
And
Lime green.
kudos for anyone who could afford him at the time, because obviously for him it was the budget rate. Yeah, I eventually went for him last game week and I got the 9 point, so I'm pretty happy with that. But I think people got him way before that, and they absolutely reaped the rewards for the last few game weeks.
A hot Trent is really tempting, and we spoke a lot about him last week and just feel he's overpriced. My argument was if you're going to go 4-5-1 and have him over a forward, then that would be the decision. But I do think I wouldn't be going there now. I would be looking again in game week 24. Because with Son going, I think it's a lower attacking threat. But coming up, like this week, he's got Arsenal. Burnley's great, but then it's Newcastle, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Arsenal. Like I think the clean sheet. I always just feel a bit iffy relying on attacking returns for Trent. But if he keeps on going and you've got Haaland money burning in your back pocket and you're not in a rush to get him back, then why not? Because that power 3 of Porro, Trippier, Trent, but with Trippier's forms on the slide. Suddenly that's he's 6.8 for me, but he's 6.9 in the game. A 6.9 million Trippier to an 8.2 million Trent doesn't seem so steep anymore, if that's an angle that people are potentially looking for. But there we go. Great pick. Great player. We all know his potential when he's on it. When Trent's on it, he is fantastic. He's just a bit too pricey.
Have people say anything in chat yet?
Anything about what?
Has anyone in chat said anything about the picks?
No.
Okay.
They haven't.
I think just one quick point. Like like we all know that some players are great, right? But just because they're great doesn't mean that you can pick them anytime. Like, timing is still key. So Trippier, for example, you don't pick him now. You picked him like way earlier, right? So Trent the same, right? You picked him. Like, you could argue that it's still a good time to pick him now, but probably the best time was 4 or 5 game weeks ago. So the timing is always key with every single player.
But you're fine for the next 2 with Trippier because it's Luton Forest. But when we talked about Newcastle before, like 2021, 22 are literally the 3rd most difficult games of the season because it's Liverpool away, Man City at home, and going to Villa. So it's like, and they're spread out as well. So everyone's fully fresh. That's the one where it's the 1st of January, the 13th of January, and the 30th of January. That's the spread out one. So not only are they the toughest fixtures for Newcastle, everyone's fit. So you can argue that's great for Newcastle because one of their negatives has been they've been a bit leggy. But on the alternative side, Liverpool, City, and Villa are all going to be fully fresh as well. Trippier's still an easy hold for me, I think. And then from 23 onwards, they're not in any cups except the FA Cup anymore, which is just one game every so often. So I think they'll be fine after now. And then players returning from injury will be a big one for them too. So fine. And look, the richest club in the world. Who knows what they're and they've been sensible with the financial fair play rules. I don't know why Man City weren't sensible. No one's sensible in football money and finance. So who knows what's going to happen in January? Like, who knows who might join Newcastle? So let's go on to our new picks. Ryan has gone. Now, we've gone from being Liverpool heavy 4 weeks ago to being Chelsea heavy. Of course, it is with easy reason because Chelsea have got Wolves away, Palace at home, Luton away, and Fulham at home, which is pretty similar to the 4 fixtures we chose for Liverpool 4 game weeks ago. As Lucian sat there in his Wolves shirt, his team's getting targeted again. But that's the reason why fixtures are a key part in decision making, and Chelsea are about to go on well, they've already started that beautiful run of green. Ryan's pick is Malo Gusto. He said he was going risky for this one. He even says here it's definitely a risky pick. But if it is away into that Chelsea defence with some upside, because he's in place for the injured Reece James, Chelsea have a good set of 4 fixtures upcoming and slowly improve their defence as well. So he's hoping for 2 clean sheets and maybe an attacking return or 2. Gusto for his price, again, could be absolutely fantastic. My only problem is I don't know about his minutes compared to the start of the season. Because Diassi can go to right back. Cucurella can even play right back. I think the only issue with Gusto, and I think this is why Ryan said he's a risky pick, is the minutes. The potential's there, the price is there, the minutes is the risk. So that's his pick. My pick, I'm the midfielder, and it's the man on the screen. Cole Palmer, wonder kid of the moment. Price, fixtures. Chelsea are focused on the league. Top of the fixture ticker. Returning injured players or players who haven't even played yet, like Nkunku now has finally played some minutes for Chelsea. I don't think that's going to take away from Palmer. I think that's going to add to it. He showed against Sheffield United recently and against Manchester United as well that he's not just a penalty merchant. He's got Wolves, Palace, Luton, and Fulham in the next 4. So even if Chelsea are inconsistent, you cannot ignore Palmer for 5.6 million. Like, he's probably the best budget enabling midfielder in the entire game. Gordon is crept up to 6.2. He is potentially injured, but the question has been that if you're in a 3-5-2 with like a Watkins, Haaland, Trippier, Saka, Son, Salah situation, everyone's looking at anyone under like 7 million. Palmer is clear. Gordon, if fit, the question is those two. So there you go. Palmer is my pick for the next 4. He is also in my team, and I did enjoy his 14 points. Should have been more because Broya missed absolute sitter for another Palmer assist, but I won't be greedy. You look at it from Palmer's point of view, and he put it on the plate, right? If the other player doesn't finish it, that's not a negative for Palmer. It's still just a massive plus. And his ownership is slowly creeping up, but 23% is still money. If he hits a haul, you're still rolling in the money of the points. Going on to Lucian. You are the forward pick. So a person that I've already just mentioned is your forward pick. Someone who, can you think of a player that's had so much excitement and anticipation without kicking a ball? Now he's kicked a ball, but without kicking a ball, everyone wants to know about this man. Who is the man?
He was supposed to be the guy that enabled all of Chelsea, right? He was supposed to be the guy that fed Jackson all those beautiful through balls. He was meant to link up play with all the wingers, such as Raheem Sterling. He was meant to be their chief penalty taker, and my goodness, what a good penalty he took! Like last night, 2 nights ago. Yeah, that was good stuff, man. Yeah, for for the guys in the notes, I've even found a compilation of every single touch he had against Newcastle in midweek. And it was a mix. It was a good mix of, linking deep midfield to advanced midfield. There was good link up play with himself and Cole Palmer in midfield, with Sterling further up. And arguably, like he was even running past Raheem Sterling in the final line of defense. So I do feel that Christopher Nkunku is going to become big, especially when Jackson goes to AFCON. So I'm not gonna wait for game week 21 to recommend Nkunku. Yeah, I'm not gonna wait. He's gonna start now, and it's gonna be one of those Reece James situations where he comes back, he bangs for 4 weeks, and he gets injured like maybe after the international break. So um I expect this very short revival, especially for people who are still lagging in selling Haaland or something like that. Yeah, if you want a good 4 week Chelsea punt, this is it. This is your window. And yeah, I just cannot wait. I just cannot wait to see him deliver to his potential itself.
I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic. I just think it's just too early. Just a fraction. Like, he came on in the 69th minute. Does that mean that the time that he's just played is now? He's just played like over half an hour. Is he ready now from this game week, or is it going to be another situation where he's going to come off the bench again this week, and then maybe the week after that he'll come on again one more time and then start? But I think he's like 1.4% owned. I think it is in the entire game. 7.3 million. 1.3% owned in the entire game. He is 0.7 million more expensive than Solanke, but if that is, we're not worried about money right now if you've sold Haaland, right? But the question is, you keep the money because you want to get Haaland back for when he's fit. But if you do have some way to get him, like I could be in a 4-3-3 and I maybe want to go Solanke to Nkunku, he's going to be fantastic. The quality's there. It's just when. And you're right. If you jump on him this week, if you get on him this game week and he does start, you are literally in the top like 1.5% of people to have this very, very highly hyped and anticipated great player. And get him, because I always said in pre-season when I did the videos with you, Lucian, I always felt that Nkunku was going to play as the 10, Jackson as the 9. You can have like Mudryk and Sterling, but now Palmer's there, of course, but at the time he wasn't. But if you've got like Sterling, Palmer, and Nkunku and Jackson, that's a good attack. Like, I think Nkunku isn't going to be battling Jackson for minutes. I think that's going to be a partnership. I think that's going to be a connection between them. Palmer as purely an assist wide player, like assist winger, to come inside. Palmer can come in to the central areas when Nkunku pushes forward. So I can envisage a Sterling attack down the wing. Palmer tucks into the middle, and Nkunku goes and joins Jackson in the attack. Wonderful. That's the way it could be, right? Or on the other wing, Palmer gets it and Nkunku can slide to the wing, or Jackson can push over to the wing and Nkunku can again run down the middle. That is a really great potential attack. It's just is now the time. But I love the pick, and it's a player that really big miss for Chelsea. I think is a big money signing. I could see it in pre-season, the connection between Mudryk and Jackson and Nkunku. So if he stays injury free, I think that they could look fantastic. I really, really do. Going on to the wild card pick. Any player in the entire game. Tien, you can choose anyone. Who are you backing for the next 4 game weeks?
Yeah, so before I say what my pick is, I just want to say like the reason why I love our show, and I love talking to you guys, and I love listening to Lucian analyzing games and players and tactics and all that, not just here but elsewhere as well. Because I just listen, I take everything in, and then I'll watch, and then I'll wait, and I'll monitor, and I'll find the time to jump. So I think Nkunku is going to be a very exciting pick, but I think I have to agree with you, Rob, that it's too early for FPL.
Just
Too early for FPL. So don't be surprised if I jumped on and pick him, in 3 weeks' time or something, because I'm that kind of I'm that kind of manager who I want to see proven sort of, I don't know, stats or what I see on the field as well, and minutes. More importantly, like for a good pick, you need consistent minutes as well. So my wildcard pick is Martin Odegaard, and the reason why
A bit
I'm
less.
saying that the reason why I'm saying what I just said is because Odegaard was losing picks all the way back, I don't know, from game week 9 or something. Right? So, but it's taken all this time for me to start to notice him because, yeah, like in game week 9, I don't think he was a pick, but now he is. So, we'll see, but I like the way he's been looking in the last few games. Like I think since he came back from the injury, was that the hip surgery or something? I don't know. It was an injury
Muscle.
that kept him out.
Muscle.
Yeah, the muscle. Yeah, he has looked really really good. He's very involved, and um, he he already got like a goal and assist as well, but a lot of attempts, a lot of um, attacking stats. I think his stats in the last 5 game weeks are much better than his previous 9 game weeks before the injury. And he's looking even better than the alternative Spurs assets that people are talking about at the moment, Richarlison or Kulusevski, and even comparable to Saka as well. So yeah, for that reason, I'm really really tempted to go for him over Saka. And so fixtures wise, Liverpool this game week away is a tough game, obviously, but then West Ham at home, Fulham away, and Crystal Palace at home the following 3. So all the teams that Arsenal can score again, and I think we're going to talk about the matchup later. I expect Arsenal to score again, Liverpool this game week as well. So yeah, finger crossed, we'll do well.
Yeah. For me, he's a solid pick. He's similar to Saka. He'll take over nice. I just think for the extra 0.6, Saka might have that extra threat, especially if he holds on to the penalties. But overall threat. Just the last thing I want to say about Nkunku as well. The only reason why I think it's too early now is because it's 3 matches in a week. If this was the January schedule of like 2 matches or 3 in a month, then I would have thought he would have played. But I just can't see him playing 30 minutes in the cup. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago. Late as well, because it finished late because it went to penalties. And then going ahead and playing like 90 in 3 weeks when he's been out injured since the summer. That's the other reason as well. If this would, even if it had been weekly, if it would have been 1 match a week, I might have been more tempted. But just the fact it's 3 in a game week, I could see him, coming on for this one, starting the middle game, and then back on the bench for the third one. But
So
I don't know.
what's the measure to make him a green pick? How many attacking returns?
I think anything. I think two for 7.3 million. I think 2 in 4.
Okay,
Would
take
be
that.
fine.
Good.
You think the same? 2 in 4 or 3 feels like it's getting to 3 returns in 4 games is massive. Like
I expect 3. Just not against Wolves. I think Wolves are keeping quiet,
no.
and yeah, it'll go crazy next week.
He says wearing orange and black. So yeah, I just think we always need to delete like sometimes Haaland and Salah from our expectations of players. Like a 7.3 million player getting 2 returns in 4 games. Like if you're looking at your FPL app or team or however you look at your team, and you're seeing a player every other week get a return, you're not going to sell that player. Right? I don't think I'll ever look at a player on my side who is like 1 week on, 1 week off, getting me points. I wouldn't sell him. So yeah, 2 in 4 I think is good. But for anyone, to be honest. So going on to the matchup. Can't really see it because it's small for most people, but they're the kind of predicted lineups that I took from One Football. I don't think there's any big surprises from people. Expecting Kanate to start alongside Van Dijk. I think the most important takeaway from this is I think most of your key assets are going to be starting this game. I also agree. I also think Darwin Núñez is going to be the one that starts this one because I don't think that they need that kind of we'll just label it false nine or deep lying forward that Gakpo can bring to the side. I think they'll go with Darwin as a spearhead through the middle. But we'll go on before we go on to the actual matchup. The question is, does this provide tipping points for any potential Liverpool and Arsenal assets going forward besides Tsimikas, Salah, and Saka? Lucian, I'm going to let you take this away. This one, because you're first one on the notes we
Yeah,
have.
sure. I think we'll start with the Odegaard pick because much of this week's discussion is going to revolve around who, or at least how to invest in Arsenal, right? Because I think as it stands, if I'm not mistaken, all of us have two Liverpool players at the minimum, as well as two Arsenal players at the minimum. I'm thinking some of us are hesitant on Saka, but that's because we didn't get him, such a long time ago. But otherwise, most of us are basically on one defensive and one offensive asset from Liverpool and from Arsenal each. So going into this header, the reason we talk about this, in the first place, the reason we even raise this question is because we know after this particular matchup, it's like 4 greens in a row anyway. So, we're picking beyond this particular matchup, but it's more of like whether this particular match commences a run that will, go into the next four with full confidence. And that's why Odegaard, who has been the high profile guy that was supposed to step up to the occasion when things get tough, has come to the fore. Because imagine, right, if you own, let's say, right, the more ludicrous scenario, where you had two Arsenal defenders, maybe a Zinchenko and a Saliba, and then you add Bukayo Saka in there, you're gonna have a very underwhelming. You're gonna have a very underwhelming impression of your teams, for the next 4 weeks. Whereas if you had, say, Saliba, and then you had Saka and Odegaard, or maybe Saka and Gabriel Jesus, which is someone we've not talked about yet. I think that looks either much more balanced, or at least it gives you some hope that you have a chance of cracking the template. I think the only downside this week is that with Arsenal playing Liverpool, we know that there's much higher potential in the likes of Son against Everton or any Aston Villa midfielder if we know he gets 90 minutes. So yeah, there's a bit of an underwhelming impression this week, but otherwise, yeah, looking forward, look, I do feel that Arsenal attack is going to be the talk of the town, especially when we finish these 90 minutes here. So Odegaard, we've talked about too much, and I just feel that the next one, Gabriel Jesus, not Gabriel Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, because of how he's actually getting a run of minutes, and for me, yeah, just him doing far more intelligent things from the number 9 position as opposed to Martinelli or anyone else in that offensive slot.
So that's good because we'll go to Tien because he talks about Odegaard and Gabriel Jesus. So what do you think, Tien?
Yeah, so Odegaard is we've already talked about, but yeah, so Jesus was my pick last week as well. So obviously I'm seeing a lot of the things that Lucian just said, like the Arsenal attack is definitely something that excites me. And so yeah, so I will potentially be owning all three: Saliba, Odegaard, and Jesus. No Saka. Because for some reason Saka doesn't excite me. I haven't had him since my wildcard game week 8. Obviously he's been hurting my rank, but every week I thought his points were not like it was not things that you saw coming. Like it's like, oh, he managed to get point, and obviously because he was a very high ownership. Of course he's been hurting my rank, but I have no urge to say, oh, I have to get him in, because while he is hurting my rank, my other alternative picks, have been returning as well. So I'm fine. and oh yeah, so I mean, there's things called sort of playing the EO game, which I used to do a lot before this season. Like before this season, I could not imagine my team doesn't have Saka and Son in it because of EO. This season, I have chosen to play slightly differently, in that I believe in what I believe in what I see. I believe in my picks, and I'm willing to take that risk of going against those very highly owned picks. So yeah, I'd intend to keep Saliba and Jesus, and I potentially could even transfer Odegaard in for this week. Now, if they do have a good run of features after this game week, but I think eventually Jesus will probably be the one to go first, though, because I need to get Haaland back in game week 20, and I've got Jesus, Watkins, and Blanky up top. I think is probably make the most sense that Jesus is the one to go. But yeah, it's just like the prospect of having those three just excite me, at least for the next few weeks.
Yeah. So I'll start my part, and funny enough, I'll start with Ryan's comment in the chat, because it goes similar to what I'm going to say. Is Saka at this point is just an EO defensive pick, but not really hurting you enough that you need him. You know, the amount of times you go against Haaland and he absolutely destroys you, Saka's not doing that. I think his last few points have been like 8-5-2-3 or something like that. And I've been pretty vocal about Arsenal's attack not being particularly a threat, and having players and teams, not teams, but players from other teams. So, for example, Bowen and Kudus, like, they play for a worse team compared to Arsenal, but in terms of like their importance and their effect in FPL and their attack, I think they're better picks at the moment, until maybe after this game. So in terms of the attack, I'm not that interested. But the fact that AFCON and Asia is going to take out so many key players, it is likely that I'll end up with Saka as a shield pick, because that ownership is just going to skyrocket even higher for anyone who doesn't have him already. With Salah and Son gone, there's going to be a tide that's going to shift to Arsenal. I think Odegaard and Saka and Martinelli are going to have a huge increase in ownership, because there's going to be so much money around for 4 or 5 game weeks that with the fixtures there, it's just an easy transfer to be like, Son out, Saka in, don't have to think about it. In terms of defense, no one is keeping any clean sheets, but I still think one Arsenal defender like a Saliba, I think Saliba's one of the few players who's played every single minute of the season so far. So I would just be sticking, I think, with him. But yeah, I think that's where we separate. I mean, I'm surprised you say you're a bit excited for their attack. Again, anything specific you've seen?
I think it just since Odegaard come back and Jesus coming in, like it just like I think before that it was quite underwhelming. But seeing those front four, I think they started to tick in the last, at least in the last couple of games.
In terms of Liverpool, though, not too much going on there apart from Trent and Salah. Tsimikas is in the list. Salah's in the list. So is Trent the only? Is there no one else? I mean, I tried Diaz and it failed, but there's just no one else at Liverpool, right? That's bringing any interest. Anyone, Lucian?
Well, I mean, long story short, Liverpool rotate their attackers so often that even though Luis Diaz has been getting 90 minutes, right, there's just so much going on from minute 1 to minute 45, and then Klopp makes substitutions, and then suddenly you see Szoboszlai move to left midfield. You see Jones and Elliott, who you expect to be central midfield, they end up on the flanks, and then you've got Joe Gomez bombing down the right side. So it's confusing. You just don't have a familiar process of 90 minutes where you know Liverpool can break down defenses. I mean, your rant the other day about Liverpool resulting to crosses in the final minutes against Man United, was it? That is completely true. That is not something you expect Klopp to do against a non-Man United side. I do feel that he had his justifications for it, but I think the point here is that Liverpool right now do not have a solid plan A that brings out the best in any one to two particular players, because he just has so much attack at his disposal, right? I mean, right now, even if let's say you started, Endo as like the water carrier, you have like central midfielder options of Gravenberch, McAllister, Soboslai, Gakpo. Wow, that is like,
Jones, Harvey
from
Elliott.
no, I mean just as a first team 11 to fight for, right? You have four real, like, on the cusp of elite players. Yeah, just fighting for two spots in the starting 11. And I mean, I don't blame Klopp for trying to chop and change tactics, because out wide he's actually quite thin, right? Besides Salah and Diaz, he doesn't have anyone else after Jota's injury. So I feel that because we do not have this stable process of 90 minutes, sometimes you see Salah central and you go, why? But Salah doesn't get service. And then you see Salah out wide and he's getting chances, but you go, why is he taking these chances from out wide? So it's a catch-22 situation, and Klopp's basically in this stage of the season right now where he doesn't need to have everyone performing at 100% optimum position to win games. To win games, he just needs to like rough it out in the first 45 minutes, figure out where the weaknesses are, make a good mini switch at halftime, and then bang, you know. So sometimes we see Soboslai right central midfield, sometimes it's Gakpo, sometimes it's some Gravenberch even. So it all changes. We can't even say that Liverpool are heavy down their right side anymore. It's not even true, because we've seen Trent like start as right back, move to right centre back, move into defensive midfield, and then he goes to the left side in the final minutes of the Sheffield United game. Who knows? Who knows where all these players will end up? So the idea is the reason Trent and Salah are so valuable is because no matter what strategy Liverpool use, Salah and Trent are at least involved. At least they are involved somewhat, whether the chances are big or small. Yeah. But everyone else is just a big question mark.
So that'll go on to what you said earlier about a lot of people having a defender from each side, and your question here now is who would you bench between both backlines and who's keeping thereafter? Just to draw a line on the last one, so I think Arsenal midfield, you can go for it. Ødegaard, Saka, maybe even Martinelli. Going forward, I think could be good options. Maybe in that order: Ødegaard, Saka, Martinelli. Because I think you two are pretty bullish on the Ødegaard situation, but Liverpool not so much. But defenders, benching this week, keeping afterwards. Tien, what are you gonna do? Because I think you've got one. You've got Trent and Saliba, so you've got one of each.
Trent and Saliba, and currently I'm benching Saliba and obviously playing Trent for obvious reason. I don't think either team keep a clean sheet. Anyway, I expect goals from both sides, so I think just go for the upside. If you have Tsimikas and you expect him to start, and play him, because then at least he offers some upside as well. I think Arsenal defenders, I don't think anyone will have much upside. Zinchenko maybe, perhaps, but yeah, obviously lower than the Liverpool counterparts, I think.
I'm benching Tsimikas actually this week. I don't have an Arsenal defender. I don't have an Arsenal player actually in my side. It definitely feels like it's a year for wing backs. So if you've got like a Trent or Robertson, I know Robertson's injured, but it doesn't feel like it's a year for clean sheets. So in a game like this, I just wouldn't want to be playing like a Saliba or a Van Dijk or something like that. If you can avoid it, I think Zinchenko is a great pick longer term after this game. Again, it just comes down to his minutes and injury proneness. If you force me to play an Arsenal or a Liverpool defender, I'll play Liverpool because they're at home and they're a better attacking side. Like I feel like Liverpool are going to score more than Arsenal. I believe more in Liverpool's attack than in Arsenal's. But I wouldn't be expecting a clean sheet this game week. But going forward, Saliba, Zinchenko, easy. Tsimikas for cheap, Trent for big upside, but paying the premium price for it. So, yeah. But Tsimikas, I've got Porro, Trippier, and Lascelles starting for me. So, that's an easy benching. Yes. Lucian, what are you doing with now and
bench
later?
anybody that you feel doesn't have potential for attacking returns.
Yeah.
That's it. I think probably that would probably be my only reasoning for potentially benching Bukayo Saka, because I do feel that against Tsimikas he'll do okay. But I mean, as in, I think Tsimikas will do okay. I do feel that the attacking returns will come from the other side, where Martinelli or Jesus runs at Trent. Yeah, so I do feel that if you feel that Bukayo Saka's too boring to have in your midfield and you want to bench him because you have a really good cheap attacking player, such as Newcastle one or something like that, then yeah, go for it. Like this is the week. This is the week. If you want to bench Bukayo Saka out of hatred against the EO, you do it like this week. But beyond that, bench anyone who you foresee does not have an attacking return in them.
Yeah, we're not trusting either defense, I think, for this one. Liverpool at home, big attack. Arsenal, nice attack, good with the ball. And it's a top of the table clash, right? These teams can't lose, don't want to draw, that kind of situation. So let's go on to the matchup then, Lucian. What are your thoughts on the specific match itself?
Well, I think the weakest link, which is still very strong here, would be to attack the Trent Alexander-Arnold zone for Arsenal, and it just comes down to whether Gabriel Martinelli does it directly or whether does Jesus do it. Because I do feel that now on that left side, right, Arsenal have the potential, at least based on what they've shown in recent weeks, to ask questions. Not Martinelli directly, not Gabriel Jesus directly, but Kai Havertz. Because I do feel this is like the moment where Kai Havertz has built up enough chemistry. And I think my only qualm is that in order for Kai Havertz to be effective, he has to do it in like the final half an hour of games. So what I'm worried about is that the contest is settled in like the first half an hour or the first 45 minutes where all the goals are scored and then Kai Havertz does nothing. But I do feel that that's how Arsenal will beat Liverpool. The thing about Liverpool beating Arsenal, though, since they're playing at Anfield, right, is that they have to leverage on home support a little bit. They need to somehow, get the crowd and the ref behind them, and you ask yourself who would be the best momentum player to take advantage of all the fouls that Liverpool will win, because that's what I feel has been Arsenal's weakness. Not one particular player, but a whole wave of players. Because Arsenal right now are trying to do this thing where they win the ball up high. They press defenses, they press fullbacks, they spring pressing traps against Liverpool's defensive midfield. And if Liverpool somehow um, know that Arsenal are going to try and counter press them and just not play Wataru Endo, they just go long, right? Go long, go direct, and I can definitely see a dribbler from midfield, such as Soboslai, just do a half turn on Martin Odegaard. Because I mean, Ross Barkley did it. Anyone watch the Arsenal Luton game? Ross Barkley could actually dribble past Martin Odegaard. It's not that good of a defense. So um, and I do see that Liverpool, with the home crowd behind them, might win a few early yellow cards and take advantage of all the free set pieces they get. So this is why I feel Trent Alexander-Arnold is very interesting, because of his corners, because of his free kicks, and I do foresee Trent delivering from a set piece. This is what I feel will happen. So that's all the interesting stuff I have on paper.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, referenced the tweet I had about the crosses. So I just think Liverpool's dull attack against United was down to this. And I noticed when I was watching it, and it's one of them where, like, is this real? And when I researched into it, I looked into it, just Liverpool, one of the most cutting sides, nicest attacking sides in the land, in the world. And for some reason, they decided against a depleted, inconsistent, injury-ravaged Manchester United side at home to go for crosses. Just cross after cross after cross after cross after cross. And I don't get it. 35 crosses they had in that game. If you compare that to the last 5, they had 19 against Palace, 24 against Sheffield, which you understand because it's a low block, but still 24, it's not 35. 13 against Fulham, 10 against Man City, and 20 against Brentford. It just felt like instead of going for those cutting, like surgical passes and that nice attacking, they just kept crossing it. And I don't know why. And they won the headers, but it's harder to score with your head than it is with your foot. Like, I don't feel like it just is. It just feels like a cross isn't as good of a chance compared to passing it around and passing it through balls like they usually do. So,
matchups, Rob, matchups. Because Liverpool were dealing with Johnny Evans and Varane in the air. This time it's a bit different.
just and that's it. They're good aerially. It's not like it's easy to exploit that defense. But anyway, so I just think that's going to be changed and amended for the Arsenal game. Despite Arsenal, I think, being the best team overall for defensive stats. It's Anfield. It's a title challenging clash. Liverpool need to go for the win. Equally, Arsenal aren't a sit-back part of the bus team. Liverpool will be back, hopefully, to good attacking ways, but they're vulnerable in their defense as well. So I just think Liverpool's flanks can be exposed, like you said, because I think Tsimikas has been great for me. I brought him in when Robertson was ruled out. He's got me points. I appreciate him, but he is so below Robertson in quality. And Trent is always suspect defensively at times. That's where Arsenal get their joy. And then Liverpool's just that high press intensity, and because every team in the world issues Liverpool. So I think this is why we talked about benching players. This is why we think to bench them, basically, if you don't have attacking potential, because I think it's going to be goals, but not crazy. Close game, top of the table, like 1-1, maybe 2-2, 2-1, something like that. But I think Liverpool's going to edge it. Especially after Klopp's call about it being too quiet in the 5-1 smashing at West Ham. I think he's going to galvanise the fans for this one. And no, it's a big one. Tien, what do you think about the matchup?
Yeah, so you just mentioned about the crossing, right? I remember early on in the season, there was a lot of those Salah sort of like, cut through ball diagonal sort of into the area, and then Diaz or Darwin will get to the end of that, right? And remember that offside goal that wasn't offside, but then offside. But then even there were quite a few goals that like Salah assisted Diaz and Darwin for those. But then now I don't see them doing that much anymore. Like Salah would just be like crossing or very further away from the box, and he seemed to be passing the ball very early these days as well. Like he doesn't tend to hold on the ball and like dribble past players anymore. I don't know why, but it just seems like his play style is slightly different these days. But anyway, the interesting for me to see would be like who would actually play on the left to deal with Saka, like whether Tsimikas will play or Gomez will play. And I think you mentioned earlier, Rob, that you think Darwin will start. I'm not too sure. Maybe Gakpo will be starting and kind of needed up front because Darwin, all he does is just hanging up the top and be offside.
You think he might need help
doesn't offer.
defensively? No?
Like just all the pressing and like he works very hard up front and maybe open up for Salah to actually come into the box more often. I think from the Arsenal point of view, I think Saka will be marked out of the game. And Jesus will probably have to come deep and work very hard, whether on the left side or just in the center of the park. So that's the reason why I think Odegaard will probably be the beneficiary of all of this, run into the box and taking those shots. But in any case, I expect it to be a goal score from both sides. So a 2-2 draw will probably be something that I think will happen here.
Yeah, I personally would play Gakpo. I think Gakpo's earned the right to play compared to Darwin in my Liverpool best 11, to be honest. But yeah, I think good points. But I think we're all expecting goals in this one. Hopefully there will be. Well, I hope obviously Arsenal don't score because I don't have any of their assets. But hopefully it's a good game anyway. So let's move on to Spurs against Everton. Pedro Porro, now template pick because of his consistency. Is he, dare we say, essential? And is there anyone else in the conversation? So, Lucian, we'll start with you. What do you think about
All right.
Porro here?
Yeah, this is going to sound controversial, but I put Pedro Porro in the same category as Jared Bowen. Not in terms of how he is used in FPL, not because of his stature or anything like that, but because of the way he delivers mysteriously, not by finishing the big chances, but by actually either getting assists from small chances created or yeah, just having tidy games. I do feel that Pedro Porro is not a player that you expect to really come to the fore and deliver based on his skill set or something that Postecoglou asked him to do. Because Pedro Porro, when he first came to the side, was a wingback, an out and out genuine wingback who just sits on the byline, even under the Antonio Conte days, and um he just specializes at being out wide. He's good at making early lofted through balls. He's good at running down the flanks, going to the byline and putting decent cutbacks, sometimes chipped, sometimes driven. So when you take a wing back and you put him in the half space where it's crowded and he's not the tallest guy, he doesn't have the best jump, he will get into good positions. And live Spurs' crosses from the left, right, especially when it comes from Son, are marvelous. But the question is, if you give Pedro Porro a big chance, or if you put him like in a good space, like say in the 90th minute against what was the last game Spurs played? Not Newcastle.
Forest.
Forest, yes. Right? The game, yeah, the Forest game where he had that big chance in the 90th minute of a Spurs counter attack. Do you expect Pedro Porro to finish that as a wing back? No. Because he's not a goal scoring wing back like Matt Doherty or Johnny, right? From that epic season. So I want Pedro Porro to do well. I just find that he's right now profiting off all these small things that he does. Just like Jared Bowen, where he mysteriously gets chances even though West Ham do not bully opponents at all in open play. Pedro Porro is just one of those players where you don't watch and you just, have your notifications on. You go, oh, Porro got an assist. Yes. Okay, leave it. Don't watch the game. Yeah, otherwise you'd watch it and you go like, he missed so many things. He scored none of it. It's just yeah. That's why I have.
And anyone else in the conversation for you then?
Uh, I want Brennan Johnson to be part of the conversation because I am genuinely rooting for him. I just find that like Brennan Johnson at the moment he's not sharpened himself since coming to Spurs. He had a good, promising 2 to 3 games, right before Madison got injured, but after that initial impressive bit, like he's just faded into that right wing spot and not delivered. Because I think they're not they're not what's this? They're not imposing Postecoglou's tactics as a winger. So I mean, yeah. Postecoglou's plan A is all about the fullbacks anyway. The wingers aren't meant to be that incisive. So that's why I felt, he's like kind of fallen off a cliff.
Not for Spurs. That's the next question you put about, I think, about Son. I think defenders, you'd maybe you'd mention Chelsea or Arsenal defenders.
Yeah, I wanted to. Honestly, I did want to talk about Chelsea defenders, but I realized that Chelsea still play 4 center backs. I don't think Malo Gusto starts. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
I just
Ryan.
thought about it. Yeah,
All right.
yes.
I think Porras. I think I said it last week. Was it 2 weeks ago? I think he's basically Trent, but a couple million cheaper. Maybe not as good as Trent. I'm not trying to claim that, but he's Trent light. Sometimes he's centre midfield, sometimes he's on the wing, sometimes he's in the opposition's box in a massive attacking Spurs side. Especially during green fixtures is a clear buy. Like, unless they're playing like Liverpool or City or Villa away, I think you can play him in any game and feel confident he could get an attacking return, not necessarily a defensive one. The defensive template of Trippier, Trent, if you can afford it, and Porro, it's because it's the wing backs. There's not been clean sheets have felt so rare this year that wing back defenders have been. They're usually traditionally the better players, right? It's always like a 5 to 6 million wing back and like a 4.5 to 5.5 million good central defender. But it doesn't feel like we even have that for central defenders this year. It's all about the wing backs, which lowers the pool of good potential players to have from defense. So who would we go to? James would have been a great option, but he's injured again. So Zinchenko for me is the only one I would throw in with those names if he gets the minutes and he doesn't get injured. I just think like Trent, Trippier, Porro are so clear. Like you can throw Saliba in there because of how many minutes he's going to hit clean sheets because he plays in the best defense. But aside from those, I can't suggest anyone else in terms of high potential. I can suggest Everton defenders because of their price, or Palace defenders, or Villa defenders for their price. But in terms of me looking at my team thinking, oh, I like these guys in my 11, I'm just thinking Porro, Trippier, Trent. Would have been James if he was fit, Zinchenko if he stays fit and gets the minutes. They're the big five for me, and I think they're clear. If you throw Saliba in there as well a little bit, I think they're clear. Tien?
You're just singing music into my ear because that's my defense.
What? Trippier, Trent, Porro?
And Saliba.
All four of them. Yeah, not this week for Saliba, but yeah, but it's
Not
true.
this week.
Yeah, but it's true. Like, what are you going to do? Who are you going to bench?
Right.
Because I'd be playing those four
Saliba,
every
yeah,
week.
just
From next week, who are you going to bench? If you know, or you 4-4-2.
4-4-2.
Yeah, that's next week problem.
Well, it's
no,
not.
I know.
It's 2 days or 3 days problem, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I know it's gonna be a bit of a headache because I knew that when I bought training last game week. But yeah, no, I had Porro. So I first had Porro in game week 5. So that was a long time ago, and yeah, I really liked him. I think he had. It's definitely not the trend level, but he's the Rhys James that we wanted Rhys James to be before all the injury. Like, that's the excitement that you see. I think I'm opposite to Lucien. I love watching him. I love watching him getting all those chances. I know he missed all of them, but I'm still excited to see defenders getting into the positions. He would get that shot inside the box every single game. One of those days, the hole will come, because like eventually one of those will go in. And then you're talking about the big hole. And the other thing about Porro as well is that he had the feeling of Trippier last season as well, where he either get an attacking return or a clean sheet every single game. So when he doesn't have an attacking return, he put in a clean sheet. So it's kind of like no massive hole, but then sort of consistent returns. 5 6 8 points, and that's what he won. Like, he's only 5.5 million. Like, what more do you want from a 5.5 million defender? So I think he's a very good defender to have at the moment, and he's in a lot of teams for very, very good reasons. So I regretted selling him in game week 12. I instantly regretted after I sold. So I had to get him back in. I think last game week 16, and I'm very happy that I have him now, because I just love watching the guy.
If he got clean sheets, he's had 5 this season. If he could add a couple of clean sheets, he'd be the top defender in the game. It's the severe lack of. I can't believe he's not got a double-digit haul this season. He's been consistent, not explosive, which for a defender, that's what's sometimes perfect, to just have a defender who's like, you're having a bad game week, the attackers are blank, but you've got that defender that just keeps on ticking along. But exciting as well. It's not like a boring pick either. Like you watch the game and you're like, oh yeah, Porro. He's a fun pick still as well, which is I think really important to enjoy it. You do
Just
mention
one
it.
one stat. Just one stat, right? His XGI in the last 6 game weeks is 3.21. Is better than any defender, including Trent. Number 1 in
Yep,
the last 6 game weeks. So yeah, like he's there. The
he's the
hole is
man.
coming, definitely.
Yep, I think so too. You do mention in your notes that a doggy is an alternative option for 0.7 cheaper.
I think if you are you struggle for money, like 0.7 million cheaper, Udogi is a viable alternative to Porro. But I don't think his potential is as high as Porro. I know that he scored the other day, but yeah, I think I'll pick Porro any day.
Yeah, cool. So we'll go on to this question about sunless Spurs. No sun shining on Spurs here for the Asian Cup. So who do we think will come good in this time? So Lucian, we'll go to you. Who are you looking at? Who do you think is going to step up? Who do you think is going to improve or be the leader without Son at Spurs? And you've already mentioned him. I know you're excited about him.
No, I'm actually more excited about the defensive pick because I do believe that Spurs without Son is just gonna go completely defensive, and that's still gonna benefit Pedro Porro. But I do feel that Vicario is going to outshine Pedro Porro over the next few weeks, at least when Son leaves, because I think Vicario has been solid. It's so weird because he doesn't have huge stature. He's not the most agile, or he's not the most agile for the cameras. But when you watch Vicario save low shots in particular, because I am a goalkeeper myself, competitively, wow, his coverage of low shots is, it's not that he has good spring. His footwork is absolutely something that I've not seen in a very long while. Yeah, because nowadays most goalkeepers go for that big frame, where they spread themselves out like the hair. But Vicario is the complete opposite. He goes the other way and he just pushes his hands over, but he shuffles his feet first. And I think this has nothing to do with FPL, but it's just something where he has adapted to so quickly that he just quietly ticks along with good points. And with the goalkeeper situation frustrating so many people, right? People keep talking about a backup goalkeepers for Newcastle, Liverpool, Wolves, and whoever. And yeah, I just think that if you want somebody stable that will last you until game week 29, right? I think I've looked at a couple of permanent picks. So I've looked at Lego Mane's fixture ticker that, all the way until like the potential double game week period of 28, 29. And really, if you are looking at 3 particular teams that have, that avoid City, Arsenal, Liverpool in some sense, then you are basically looking at 3 teams. I think it's Spurs, Brighton, and somebody else I cannot remember right now. But yeah, it's Brighton, Spurs, and Wolves. So I do expect Jose Sa
Forgot
to come
your
back
own
very
team.
soon. Yeah, no, but no, I mean, like that's just purely based on fixtures. Purely based on fixtures. Um, yeah, but that Spurs. Okay, so I'm just gonna read quickly for everybody's benefit, right? The Spurs fixtures, including this Everton game. So it's Everton, Brighton, Bournemouth, Man United, Brentford. Everton, Brighton, Wolves, Chelsea, Palace, Villa, Fulham. I mean, it just goes on and on. So, I mean, if you want somebody that's going to avoid City, Arsenal, Liverpool until like game week 30 plus, then yeah, Vicario's like set and forget, you know?
Huh? Right, I'll disagree. Tian, who are you thinking about with Spurs without Son?
Yeah, so I think most people are talking about Richarlison at the moment, because obviously he's come back and played number 9 and he scored like 3 goals in the last 2 games, right? So obviously that got people's attention. I think it's a solid pick, but his early substitution concerns me a bit, and as his lack of involvement other than goals as well. So basically, he would do nothing for the game, and then he just pop up with like a header and then score the goal. Um, which is consistent with what I've been saying, all night, is that doesn't excite me. I want someone to be involved and does things and do exciting things in game as well. So that is why I am more interested in Kulusevski. Because he's just looking so good. Like he's playing number 10 as well as right wing. Just shifting around and no matter where he plays, he's the central to a lot of the attacking that Spurs putting up. Now, obviously, Son has been pushed to the left for the last couple of games, and I expect him to be playing there until he goes to AFCON. And then I think probably and Johnson will go there, I'm guessing. So yeah, they will have to rely on Kulusevski a lot for for all the attacks. So his XG is a lot lower than Richarlison's, obviously, but I think his XA, so his potential for assist is much higher, a lot more involved. So I generally like someone who has more revenues for points, so assists and goals, and I think he had 5 big chance created. So Kulusevski had 5 big chance created in the last 6 game weeks, which is only better by Saka in midfield. So I'm not getting him straight away, but I'm very, very interested in monitoring him for when Son is away.
Yep. I had a bit of a weird answer. I just said I don't think anyone will come good. I think they'll stay the same. I think they're all good picks anyway. I think Maddison, when he returns in maybe 4 game weeks, will add to it. And when Maddison and Son are back, it'll be tough to see who drops out. But I think Kulusevski, Richarlison, Johnson right now are all very good options. Not made better or worse by Son. The interesting question, I think, is when Son and Maddison are back, who's going to play? So on that basis, I would probably go for Kulusevski because of current form and longevity, because I think he stays in Spurs' starting 11. And also, I know Richarlison had one. Okay. Richarlison had like one chance that he scored, and that was it. But Kulusevski is the one who stepped up when Maddison went out. So I think it's less about Son and more about Maddison being out, and Kulusevski's being the prime creator and involved a lot more. So I think Kulusevski is the one to go for. If we're looking at the attack, we've been wax lyrical about Porro like all night, and he's fantastic. So much so Ryan looks like he's going to bring him in this game week. I think Vicario is a great long-term option if you can afford it. But for me, Kulusevski is clear. And he's also not just because of form and his importance, but when everyone's back fit in 4. Because remember, we don't do transfers for 1 game week or 2 game weeks, right? We look long term. And with Maddison and back in maybe 4 game weeks, and then Son back a few games after that, Kulusevski's someone you could bring in now and have all the way until like you wild card, your second wild card, because Spurs' fixtures all the way to game week 32. They don't play Liverpool. They play Villa away in 1. But apart from that, all the way from 18 to 32, you don't have to do anything about Spurs. You can have Porro, Vicario, and Son, and then that Maddison's going to be the one who's going to screw people over, because I'm going to want Maddison back. I had Son, Maddison. I was loving life. But having 3 Spurs from now until game week 32 is, I think, just so simple. I think it's easy. Minimum 2 while Son's away. So, yeah. Going on to the matchup itself then. What are your thoughts, Lucian, for a matchup between Spurs at home to Everton? The game itself.
Well, I think the most interesting thing about this whole setup is not Spurs, but in particular, but Everton, because they've lost Mikolenko, and so they've gone 5-4-1. A Sean Dyche side playing 5-4-1. I think this is like absolute uncharted territory. And who knows, right? I mean, anybody want to guess who the left wing back is?
McNeil in it.
Yeah, Dwight McNeil.
McNeil, right? Yeah.
It's okay.
Is that McNeil, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
McNeil,
relive.
yeah.
Yeah. Dwight McNeil played left wing back, and Keane partnered Godfrey, and yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You see all these names have come back from the cold, and it's just bizarre. I think the biggest thing that has suffered as a result is that number one, um, you don't see that connection between Harrison and McNeil anymore. Even though it started McNeil left wing back, Harrison right wing. Eventually, they brought Lewis Dobbin on, and Dobbin played right side, and they shifted Harrison to the left. So I do feel that we have to not expect what's this? The Dwight Neal Harrison connection. Something new is gonna happen. But we're not here to talk about Everton. We're talking about how Spurs are gonna smash Everton. And right now, this is going to be a very, very strong test of Richarlison's positioning. Because, well, I mean, Everton are not Forest for one. Forest have what, Willy Bolly and Murillo, and defense. But yeah, Everton's centre backs, especially under Sean Dyche, at least hold themselves positionally well. So Richarlison, expect him to get like a whole ton of offsides, and it's just a matter of whether he actually breaks through and times his runs well. Because this is without a shadow of a doubt Spurs dominating Everton. It's just a matter of when the crosses come in, will it be on form, or will it come down to a Son Heung-min set piece to break the deadlock? Because that is what I foresee happening, at least with Spurs at home.
Yeah, I think I've got similar things here.
You're muted, Rob.
Mikalenko's a huge blow.
Oh, I
I-
can't
I've
hear
s-
you.
I hear you, Rob.
You can't hear me?
Yep.
The world can.
I think your
Uh,
daughter cast a spell that does allow
I think
you to hear us.
YouTube can hear you.
YouTube can, and now Discord
As
can't.
long as
I
YouTube can hear you.
don't know why. Hello?
Okay,
Oh
good.
dear.
I'm just gonna switch on my.
No. That's weird. Hello, Discord.
It's alright, just carry on.
Okay, I'll carry on. Just change this back. Hello? Yay! You can hear me again, right? You must be able to hear me. It's all shiny and green.
Oh, it's working now.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
right,
it's
good.
working now.
Back on track. So, Mikalenko is a huge blow. I spoke, especially after, even though Everton lost 2-0, the way that he dealt with Salah. And I said Everton's defense was great value ages ago when I said you could pick up anyone in the defense for 4.4 million or less. I think you can only get Braithwaite now for under 4.4 million. Like, they've all gone up in price for a good reason. Dyche's men are playing even better since their 10-point deduction. Great run of form. Always a tough team to beat. Even tougher team to smash. Now, I know United won 3-0, but people are going to argue that was quite lucky in the end. Meanwhile, Spurs are defensively always vulnerable with their attacking play style. However, away from home, Everton are a different beast, far less of a threat compared to when they're at home. And I think the loss of Mikalenko and a 5-4-1 at home to Spurs, it's just going to be a dogfight in the middle. It's going to be Everton going for counters and crosses. Spurs will press, likely dominate possession and chances. And it's just going to be that. It's just going to be like attack versus defense with Everton bursting through. I think Decore might be out this game as well, which is a huge loss for Everton. But they might just use the speed of the likes of maybe Danjuma to hit them on the counter. But I see a Spurs domination, but I'm not ruling out a Spurs-esque like conceding of a goal from like a counter or a corner or something like that. But I do feel as though this is going to be a Spurs win. And I think, I can't remember where I saw it or where I said it, but they've scored at home in every game in the Premier League since they didn't score against Arsenal, I think, last year, like a year ago, something like that. So I never feel Everton's going to get smashed, though. And it is part of the reason why I'm not leaning towards Son as my captain, because they're such a tough side. They're not easy. And now if they're in a 5-4-1, that's even worse. Like, I don't know. You guys know I play the game EAFC, the old what FIFA is, and when people play 5-4-1, even when you're much better than it, it's just a pain in the arse to break down. And a Daesh 5-4-1 just sounds like a nightmare to play against. They're just gonna sit on the box. You can't beat that. The defense are really strong physically in the air and on the ground. Like, it's just gonna be a dogfight in the middle. And the Spurs have lost some of their bite because Basuma's not going to be there. So they've lost one of their fighters in the middle. Probably a good thing because he'd probably end up getting a red card somehow again. So yeah, I think that's the way it's going to be. Tien, what's score predictions? I still think they'll break them down. I don't know if I see a clean sheet, but they're just not as good. I'm going to say 3-1 Spurs, I think. But points will be spread. I think Richarlison, Son, Kulu can all get something from this. But not enough potential compared to, I think, Watkins for captaincy. Tien, what are you thinking about the game?
Yeah, not much to add. I think it's gonna be tougher for Richarlison. I don't think he'll be afforded as many chances as he had in the last 2 games. So yeah, it depends on whether Son or Kulusevski can unpick the Everton defense on either flank. Son won't have the Trippier to dribble pass anymore. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a 2-1 win for Spurs. But I'm really hoping. I've been saying that for the last 3 weeks now, but I'm gonna say it again. Could this be the week that Porro will finally get a goal from his customary big chance that he will get every single week? It will be one shot in the box and it goes in this time.
Dream. It's the dream. So let's move on to captaincy. So just from me, I've already pretty much said what I'm going to say here. I'm going for Watkins. I think Son is a great choice, but he's back at left wing, which I don't want to see. I know he's still a threat, and I know he's still fantastic, but when he was a striker, that was when he was hitting it. When he was left wing, that's when he wasn't. And without Maddison's creativity with him at left wing, I'm unsure. And despite them scoring at home pretty much all the time, Everton are just difficult. On the other hand, Villa at home, I haven't double-checked this. I haven't checked it. But I just feel as though they're probably the best home attacking side in Europe. People can go and search. Maybe the amount of goal. They must. Unless there's... And I'm talking top leagues, right? At least in the Premier League. Is there anyone at home who bangs them in more than Villa? I don't know.
I think they're still top, yeah.
They destroy weaker teams at home. They've beaten the best team. They've beaten Arsenal and City at home. And they dominated. They didn't just beat City, they dominated City. And against weaker teams, they smash them. And they don't give up. They don't stop. They're not like City who'll get two goals up and then just pass it around the back. They will go and go and go and go. So I just feel like Sheffield United, I know they've got a new manager and it's Wilder, but I can't go against Villa at home with the quality of Sheffield United. They can park the bus all day long. Like, I just think that's it. I think Son's floor is higher, but I think Watkins' ceiling is higher. So I can see Son getting 6 to 9 points comfortable. I could see Watkins getting 15 points. Like, I just feel that the potential for Watkins is higher, but the floor, if you want to be safer, Son. If you want to, protect your rank, Son. If you think the player potentially could get higher points, I think it's Watkins. Salah's always a choice, but he's against Arsenal. And I know he's at home and he's great when he plays at home, but you've got Sheffield United in a fixture and you've got Spurs at home to Everton. Like, Arsenal at home it just feels unnecessarily difficult. But Salah's a big game player that could easily come up with a goal or two himself. So, yeah. Ryan has said this one, that he had bad memories of Watkins' captaincy. and it's one of the reasons he did the Son transfer in to have him as potential captain this week. However, Everton have gotten better recently, so it's tough. He still believes Son has the higher ceilings than Watkins. It's a very close call. At the moment, he's uncertain. Bus captain's on Watkins, but it could change if he feels like taking a risk. Kind of feels opposite to me in that one. Yen, who's yours?
It's Watkins. So well, obviously I don't have Son, so that's out of the question. So it will be Watkins or Salah. And I don't think Salah against Arsenal will be as good as Watkins against Sheffield. I mean, so Villa has scored the most number of goals at home in the entire league. 25 goals, so that's 3.1 goals per game at home. And Fulham has conceded 2.8 goals away from home per game. Everything is pointing towards, around 3 goals minimum.
Yeah.
Expected. Oh yeah, I think it's a no-brainer in terms of playing the fixture, and Watkins has been in good form as well. It's not like he's been playing badly or anything. Like Villa playing well, Watkins playing well. United, the weakest team in the league. I don't know, what else you need to have for a captaincy formula. I think it's very simple for me.
Yeah. Lucian, captain?
Well, it's on Watkins at the moment. I think the argument of ceiling versus floor is correct. I do feel that Watkins does have the highest ceiling, only because it's Sheffield United and the chances they give up is just criminal. Um, for me, this particular week is just about making sure you own all the captain candidates. And yeah, I don't see the score differential being that big, but I do feel that all three, Son, Salah, Watkins, all will get something. And it's just a matter of who you have on top of that will give you like that 5 to 10 points advantage over the template. So for me, captaincy debate is kind of moot but I've just left it on Watkins and not thought about it all.
Yeah. It's one of them where, look, if you go Son captain, Watkins vice captain, or vice versa, I think they're the two clear options. I just think Watkins higher ceiling, so there we go. That's where we're leaning now. Let's go through our teams and transfers, and if anyone has any questions about their own teams or any potential, so throughout this stream we've tried to answer them in the chat as well. But if you've got any like deadline decisions to make, now's the time to pop them in for the last part of this stream. So I think this one is Tien. Tien, yours is on the screen now. Just for anyone who's listening. He's got Dubravka in goal, Porro, Trippier, Trent as that beautiful backline. He's got Palmer, Salah, Bowen, and Gordon with the flag, but he does have Diaby first sub. Solanke, Gabriel Jesus, and Watkins as his captain. Areola, Diaby, Saliba, and Branthwaite on the bench. That's a nice, tidy bench. So, Tien, I think the question's going to be here, what are you going to do about Gordon? And is Gabriel Jesus then just the hold for Haaland? So we'll start. So Jesus, is that just the hold for Haaland then? Play him and swap him later.
As it stands, yeah. If I need to sell someone for Haaland in game week 20, which I don't think I'm gonna get him back for game week 19, even if he plays, I'm gonna risk it. And yeah, so in game week 20, yeah, Jesus is probably the most likely to make way for him. In which case I'll just sell Salah to fund. So therefore I've already spread the money, right? So I bought Trent in last game week when I sold Haaland, so I don't even have enough money just for one single move to Haaland because I've already made up my mind. But it doesn't really matter because Salah will need to go anyway. I have one free transfer at the moment. I think about 3 million or 3.1 million in the bank. So the move I'm thinking about, obviously Gordon is a potential problem. I don't even think I want to sell him. Even I don't think it's gonna. It didn't sound like a serious injury like that. He's out for long term anyway. So if he missed this game or next game, so what? Just benched him. Diaby is the pain point in my team. Like he's been so frustrated. So frustrating to own. Like he doesn't play when you want him to play. And when he plays, he doesn't do anything. Like last game week, for example, I needed him to come on for Solanke, and he's only got me 2 points, even though he started. So currently, I'm thinking if I do make a transfer, I probably sell Diaby, and then I'll bench Gordon. So Diaby will probably go for Odegaard, and I'm benching Gordon. So then later on, if in 20, I will sell Salah and Jesus for Haaland and one of Richarlison's or Kulusevski in preparation for that Spurs live without Son, depending on who. So those two will be on, in audition in the next couple of game weeks.
Yep.
You think?
Yeah, I've had Derby since game week 2, and I'm feeling it now. That's why it's between like him and Diaz to leave. I just can't sell him before Sheffield United. I think that's the way. But so just quickly then again, what's your plan to bring Haaland in if he's back? Are you just gonna roll the transfer next week and use 2 to bring it?
Yeah. So yeah, the plan is to roll next week and then 2 transfers in 20. Salah out for Kulusevski or Richarlison, and Jesus up to Haaland.
Yeah, because Salah
I've got enough money for that. Yeah.
Salah in 20 has Newcastle, right? And then he's off to AFCON. Yeah. So I think that's an easy... That's actually swayed me a little bit because I don't mind selling Salah for one game against Newcastle if it means that this game week... I could go out right now and I could bring Trent in for Kabore or something and not have a care in the world because Salah won't be back till game week 25. I mean that is an argument. If you've got the transfers to make, he's got Burnley next, but in a couple of game weeks, yeah, I think that's fine. Ryan was asking for a bit of help. He's on the screen now. So he's got Dubravka, Tsimikas starting, Trippier, Gabriel. He's got 2 defenders in this game, but he is looking to maybe bring Porro in. Salah, Palmer, Gordon, Son, Saka, Watkins, Solanke with a bench of Branthwaite, Toffolo, and that's the Sheffield United striker Asula. There's he can do Toffolo to Porro and bench Gabriel, and then if Gordon doesn't play, Gabriel can come on. So that's his idea. Thoughts on his team?
I'm going to reiterate my point, where once you aggravate a hamstring injury, you are permanently under cotton wraps. So I don't think that this period of so many games in such a short time will benefit Gordon at all.
Agree. I think Gordon's a sell. There's 3 matches in a week. There's 3 in a week. Right, we need to remember this isn't once a week. They're about to go on a 3-match run that if it's a hamstring, he's probably going to miss all 3. So that's 3 game weeks in one single calendar week. And I think I've got the perfect person to go to for that. But I think we always have to remember, I know it's not great that Liverpool and Arsenal play each other, and in the future, their defenders like Tsimikas and like Gabriel or Saliba are great options in the future. There are just some game weeks that you got to suck it up. Like, look in the past when Liverpool and City have been great options and they play each other. You'd have 6 players playing against each other. You just got to suck it up, right? I think it just happens. But I'm leaning towards if it is a hamstring and he's out, 3 matches coming up. Unless you've got a decent bench, I think he's a sell.
I don't think he has a decent bench. That's the thing.
Oh. But he said that if he brought in Toffolo, went to Porro, Gabriel will go to the bench and he would come on for Gordon. So even if Gordon is out for 3 matches, Arsenal after Liverpool have good games, right? So he'd be 4-4-2.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic on that either. Like,
Yeah,
I'd rather just
the
have.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, Tian, you go first. I'm just gonna look up some replacements.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point, and Newcastle do have tough fixtures after these twos anyway. So if you miss out Luton, that's one good game out of the next 5. Then the next 4, you got like 3 really tough fixtures and then 1 easy one. So I think it makes sense. But the thing you got to keep in mind is a lot of people have a lot of value in Gordon,
Is
and
that
he's at the price. He's at the price point where he's an easy bench option. Like, I'm happy to bench him because I currently have a benching headache every week anyway. So for my team, I have no problem playing 3-4-3 or 4-3-3. My front three, I can play every single game, right? So now obviously for Ryan it's different because his third forward is a non-option. But if he gets Porro in for Toffolo, right? And Saliba is a very, very decent defender to play 4-4-2. So he can wait. I think Porro is a priority transfer.
Yeah.
For this game week. So I think that transfer make a lot of sense. And then obviously, we will know more about Gordon next game week or the week after. Like if he's need to be benched this week and next week, that's fine. And then he can be sold in 20, for example. If we know that his injury is a lot worse. But at the moment, it's we're all speculating. Like last game week, you said, Lucian, that you didn't think that Gordon would play, and he started and he scored. So you never know. Like I know that there's a lot
Well,
of
I
games
mean,
in a
he,
short
he
period of
got an
time. So
assist.
so yes.
I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know
an
if you
assist. Yeah.
remember that particular assist. It was meant for Wilson, and it just rolled all the way through. I don't
Yeah,
know if
that was
you want to count that as a legitimate assist because it
that was
definitely was.
interesting. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I don't doubt Gordon knows how to take care of himself. I just feel that if you have common sense and some options on the bench, yeah, I really feel it's a hard sell. For me, I'm just wondering, like out of curiosity, if Ryan has the funds to turn Gordon into Richarlison. If he does this a week in advance, I think it's at least some hope. Because as you said, right, even if whether you've had a lot of money tied up in Gordon or not, you literally have no alternatives. Because the window to own all the AFCON hit players like Kudus or whoever, like that's gone. So I'm struggling actually to find somebody at the 6.0 price bracket to replace Gordon in the first place.
I just think value is not worth this. I know his value is going to go down anyway, but for the sake of, say you sold him now because he's injured for Luton, it's 6 game weeks. Like, even if you bought him as early as possible, he's gone up 0.7. So you sell him and you would have to buy him back for like 0.3 more expensive. But it's 6 game week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game weeks to sell him for. To bench someone for 5 game weeks, I just think isn't the right way to go. Like, I think he's an easy sell. If he's out, like you said, Forest, yeah, you just suck up that one game. Then it's Liverpool, City, and Villa. It's 5 game weeks, and I just don't see the value of. Funnily enough, I don't see the value in holding someone on your bench for value. And his price is going to go down anyway because people will sell him. I just think it's you're making a 6 point. If you got him early, let's just say 6 million, right? You're creating a 6 million dead spot in your team.
I don't think it's too much about that. It's about the fact that we don't know the extent of his injury.
Mm.
Like he had a knock. So he had what is it, a tight hamstring the game earlier, the game before that, but he played. So then but then he got a knock in cup game, right? So and we haven't heard anything about that at all. So we don't know exactly what the nature of his injury is. Like he could even play this game week, for all we know. So we don't know that. I think that's probably more the point rather than just like if I know he's out for like 5 or 6 game weeks, then yeah, of course Of course, it automatically sells. There's no question there at all. Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the rogue in the biggest rogue in the team. That is Lucian. Got Neto in goal. Trent, Trippier, Cash at the back. Erdegaard, Son, Salah, Saka. Semenyo, Watkins, Jackson. What a front line. On the bench, he's got Areola, Adringa, Gabriel on the bench with Taylor as the last sub. I mean, where do we start with this, Lucian?
I've already made my transfer. I turned Darwin in the Watkins, so I'm just contemplating any offensive minus force, but I just don't see any that will beat this current 11 because I really want Pedro Porro. I just cannot, like, unless I sell Trippier. I think the only thing is if I really see that Trippier's form is gone, literally out the window, and I think Newcastle defensively won't recover for a bit.
You can't go Cash to Porro?
No,
Cash
I don't
is a
have money.
concern, right?
That
Okay.
I don't have a choice. Yeah, I have to downgrade.
You don't have
I don't
money. Where is your money? Where is your money in this team?
Look at the midfield, man. It's all in the midfield. It's all in the midfield.
So this is a full team.
Yeah.
What's your team value? 80?
It is.
Yeah, you sell Haaland and you don't have money.
How is this like a 100 million team? I thought you had like 5 million in the bank or something, man.
Yeah,
midfield
and
does look good.
I turned Gordon in the sun. When you turn Gordon, I have 4 midfielders above 8 million.
Yeah, that's a good midfielder. Yes.
Oh.
Just wait until Odegaard scores, and nobody has him except for me, and everyone praises Tien, and I'm the one sitting with the
Maybe
points.
me.
This is
Maybe
a
me.
103 million team value squad.
Just sum up the cost of your
yeah.
midfield and compare it to mine. I have Trent and Trippier as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's Trent, Trippier, Salah, Son, Saka. Just the front line. I don't know. Well, my midfield is Diaz, Diaby, Salah, Palmer, Son. I think I've got
Palmer.
I've got the enabler.
Palmer is a lot cheaper. Yeah.
I've got the enabler.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And I got the Newcastle cheap defenders, but yeah, I think you're right. I don't know where you take a hit here. Because Gabriel's long term. I know he's on the bench this week, but he's long term, right? It's just unfortunate. I said earlier about sucking up a game week, right? You've got, what, 4 players against each other this week? Salah, Saka, Erdegaard, Trent. And if it's a game where you think there's going to be goals, you don't care. I know Trent will lose his clean sheet, but it's one of them where, like, if you've got 2 attacking sides against each other, but you have all the attackers, good. Bring on the goal fest, right?
Yeah, 2-2 or 3-3, and everyone could be involved. So yeah.
Hopefully, it's not that for my own sake.
I mean,
It's just the Pedro Porro problem. Do I need to get Pedro Porro? Simple as that. That's the only question I have.
For a hit,
probably not.
No,
not for a hit. Not for a hit. Especially if you can't.
I don't know. Gabriel to Porro and bench Semenyo.
I can't afford that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a problem. Like, the only time I would take a hit is if you can go from Cash to Porro. Because then you solve a problem, you get an upside player. But yeah, if you can't afford that, then I don't think there's any other thing, any other move that is worth a hit.
What are your future plans here, Lucian?
I think I've sent it in a text, right? So now that Gordon is injured in my mind, I can't buy Gordon, so I'm definitely going to sell Son for Palmer when he leaves for the Asian Games. So that's like far into the future. I think my decision point now is whether I sell Trent or Trippier for the inevitable transfer of selling Jackson for Haaland. So basically, my next few weeks involves making room so that raising funds so that I can turn Jackson into Haaland, no issue.
But I think you do straight Salah and Jackson to Haaland and Palmer or something.
Yeah, we said earlier about you just sell Salah in game week
In
20.
game week 20.
Yeah,
Yeah,
done.
in game week 20.
Or Son,
Yeah, I
or
think, yeah.
Son, whichever one you feel.
Yeah, yeah, the sentimental side of me is trying to get me to keep Salah, but I have so much value stored up, and I've owned him since game week 1. What am I gonna do there?
I
Yeah.
said the same thing, and I did a post about this. Like, I'm probably only going to sell Salah because of money, and because transfers. It's going to cost 4 transfers in and out for 4 game weeks. So I'm probably just going to sell Salah for that time. But yeah, finally, we're on my team. So for this one, I've got Dubravka in goal, Porro, Trippier, Lascelles at the back, so triple Newcastle defense. Diaby, Diaz, Son, Palmer, Salah, Watkins, and Solanke as my strike force. Simicast first sub, Archie Kabore, just throw away benches. I've got loads of money in the bank that I'm keeping for a rainy day. I'm not going to spread the Haaland funds. In a couple of weeks, I could go Watkins to Haaland and then bring Watkins in for Solanke after that and still be fine. But the big thing in my team right now is Diaz and Diaby. And I had looked at Kulusevski. I would have liked to have looked at Gordon for a couple of weeks, but obviously I don't think he's going to be in. I'm not going to an Arsenal midfielder this week because I've got Liverpool. So here's the one I'm really thinking of, and it might sound mad, but there could be some genius behind it. Is going Diaz to Bailey. Aston Villa.
Scary, man.
And then I would
Scary.
have Diaby, Bailey, and Watkins. I'd have triple Villa attack. The obvious issue is Diaby is often seen as a rival for Bailey, but it's simply put that if I have both of them in, I'll sell Diaby. Like, I don't need to sell Diaby now against Sheffield United at home. I think he'll play. But they have a great run of fixtures coming up. And I bring Bailey in now, and I'll take Diaby out later. That's my plan. So instead of I'll still have double Villa attack, I'll just long-term switch from Bailey to Diaby to Bailey. Because I think Bailey's played himself into the strongest 11. But I can see both of them playing against Sheffield United. So
Both of them?
yeah. Yeah, you know, like a 4-4-2/4-4-1-1. Because I think Cash might miss out. And then Bailey will be right mid, and then Diaby basically up front. But either way, I could go Richarlison and Kulusevski are the big ones right now. But yeah, that's just one thing. I have to make this decision, obviously, in the next couple of hours. But I still think Kulusevski and Richarlison are great picks. I think Kulusevski is probably the top one, but I just love the idea of Bailey now, and then in a couple of game weeks I can do Diaby to someone. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking anyway. The defense is fine. Trippier, Porro, Lascelles until people come back from injuries. Until Lascelles loses his place, that's fine. I've got money to bring Haaland back whenever I want, and then Salah will probably go in game week 20 or 21. To like Saka or Ødegaard. I still could Kulusevski. I just thought that I love the idea of the triple Villa attack, and you know, if I'll definitely have one of them play. Like Diaby or Bailey will play against Sheffield United. So I know it's playing against each other, but they're both in my side. And then the next game week, Diaby would be sold anyway. So that's what I'm thinking anyway. I've got 7.3 million in the bank. Oh, money's not a problem. But I don't have Trent. You guys have Trent, remember? So, I mean, if I had Kabore to Trent, I'd still have 3 million shy and so on. So, but I'm pretty happy with my team overall. And you have to look how cheap my guys are. Dubravka was like 3.9 when I got him. Lascelles was 4 when I got him. Simicast was like 4-4 when I got him. I got on these guys really early, and that's why they were just really cheap. Like when Robertson's back, Simicast is in trouble. When Shaw and Botman are back, Lascelles is in trouble. When Pope's back, I know that's more longer term, Dubravka's in trouble. So I'm kind of walking a little bit of a tightrope in terms of how nailed for a long term my team will be. But for now, I think this is a
My
great
only
value
issue
team.
is if Newcastle concede a goal, you're in trouble.
But everyone concedes goals. And
that's my
but,
issue. I don't see Trippier or Lascelles getting like super returns, even if they concede. That's my biggest issue.
but it's value. Remember, like, I've got a lot of money. You've got nothing. You've got no money in the bank, right? I paid when we're talking about value. I've got 2 Newcastle defenders for 7.9 million. Like the top 3 defense in the Premier League, I've got 2 of them for less than 8 million. It's just value. It's that simple. Having a cheap Dubravka and Lascelles has given me the opportunity. Like, remember, I've got, if I had Haaland in this side as well, I'd be 3-4-3, and I could even get even more money. Like, money's really not an issue for this side. But I know what you mean. Of course, 1 goal can take away a lot, but I'm aiming for 1 clean sheet against Luton and Luton and Nottingham Forest. I'd rather put my eggs in that basket than split it between, people who've got Arsenal defenders and Liverpool defenders. Like, I'm betting against Luton and I'm betting against Nottingham Forest. And I don't think they're too bad to bet against.
Luton's pretty good at home.
Yeah, but not for scoring goals.
I mean, they score against Bournemouth.
I'm just crossing fingers for you, man. I'm just crossing fingers for you.
Yeah, I never enjoy having a couple defense, let alone triple defense.
Always risky, but it's just value. I just think the value's crazy. Like two starting 11s.
As long as you get Haaland back earlier than everyone else, then I feel that the value is worth it. If you can get Haaland back as like way earlier than everyone else can because they're paying like 3 to 4 transfers like me, then yeah, I feel that you've made the money, it's worth its value.
I can directly go Solanke to Haaland like that. Done. Not even Watkins because of the value now. I don't have to go Watkins to Haaland. I can go Solanke to Haaland in 1 move. Done.
They go Archer to Haaland. That's gonna be the big boy move.
That would be if I went 3-4-3, but I can also do that because DRB would go to a 4.5 million midfielder. And and that's with Diaz. I don't even have to do that because if I've got Bailey, I don't even have to go that low. So I can have Haaland, Watkins, Solanke, someone, Bowen, Salah, Palmer, Son, Porro, Lascelles, Trippier as my team. 3-4-3 is where
basically,
I'm wanting to go.
Yeah. So basically, you're gonna have triple Newcastle defense and triple Villa attack in this game week. Is it gonna be genius or is it gonna be a disaster?
I'm collating. I'm congregating my points potential. I know, but it's one of them where, like, look, if Villa smash it and Newcastle keep a clean sheet, I'm gonna look like a superstar. But it's just like I keep saying, the defense part is just value, right? That for what you get from those sides for the price is worth it. Like, who else should I have instead of Trippier? Is in like everyone's team, right? Porro, fantastic. Goalkeeper, who cares about goalkeepers? I don't even see Dubravka as part of anything because goalkeepers for me like don't often mean a lot. So Lascelles, who am I missing out on? Like Trent, but I mean, come on, 4 million to 8.2 is double, more than double. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I could do it, but anyway, I think that's it. You can't have every player in your 11 be superstars, right? Lascelles is my 11th man. He's my 11th player. And the fact that I can still have Haaland, Son, Salah in the side. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
That's-
agree. You can't have everyone be
Those,
superstars.
you
Yeah.
can't, yeah, you can't. But so the Newcastle defense, you're gonna have to transfer out in 2 game weeks anyway, before they play Arsenal, Man City,
But
and
I'll
stuff like
have
that, right?
money then because of Salah.
No, I think he'll sit them. Tian, I think Rob will sit them. He'll probably sell Trippier, but he'll sit Lascelles and Dubravka.
No,
It's very easy to do.
Lascelles would go because he's not long term. Trippier would sit for. Trippier would probably still play, if I'm honest, because I don't have the bench for it. But the timing's perfect because the fixtures get tough in 20, and that's when Salah will go. Or 21, and that's when Salah will go. So that's when I'll have the funds to do something.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
Sense.
it's one of them where do I just play? If I don't sell Diaz this week, I can't sell him next week when he's got Burnley. But I just love the idea of
Diaz
Bailey.
isn't the source of your headache. I think it's more of um I think with so much money in the bank, what you need to consider is when you plan to attack the template. Because money implies power, especially when you have a free transfer or 2 free transfers at hand. So I think leaving Luis Diaz in there is actually a great pick, especially with Burnley coming up. Um, I'm just wondering whether you can look at potentially one of the templates blanking, like Son or Salah, in preparation for their national commitments, and then you sell them early and you attack Haaland or something like that. Because that's where I feel the value is. Yeah, I actually think that it's a good idea for you to spend that money now and buy big defenses because you're gonna sell Son and Salah anyway to fund Haaland. So why have that money, unless you're convinced that Haaland's gonna play game week 19 or something.
Well, that's it. I
Yeah,
could bring
at
him
least,
back. I could bring Haaland back next game week.
yeah. I mean, you could, but I'm just saying that make that plan now because I think you have a big opportunity compared to the rest of the field to make those
But
moves, and I
there's
think
just
you should.
nowhere that I want to go in midfield. Like this is my exciting pick. Diaz, the Diaz slot in my team is the differential, the spicy money that I can
Yeah,
throw
that's what I
around.
mean. Leave Diaz alone and figure out
No,
whether
he's
you want to
gotta
sell
go.
Son or Salah early, so that I mean, and get your Haalands early, sell the Son and Salah early, so that you commit to big defenses now while you still can.
I think Diaz is going. I can't sell Diaby before Sheffield United at home. Even if he's on the bench and comes on for 30 minutes, I can't. I'm just not selling Diaby home Sheffield United.
I think if you want to sell Diaz, I just get like Richarlison or Kulusevski. You want
Because it's long
either of them
term.
anyway, and then yeah, it's long term, and then when you sell Son, you can get Saka or
But Bailey's
Odegaard
long
or someone
term. That's
else.
the point I was trying to make early. Bailey is long term.
I don't. Why
What?
is he long term?
Sheffield United, Man United, Burnley, Everton, Newcastle, Sheffield, Man United, Fulham, Forest, Luton.
He's sharing minutes with Diaby. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Sharing minutes.
But
That's a problem, right? Why you are getting another rotation risk player
just for the
in?
banter, mate. I know exactly. I just think he's on it, and I just think he's in
He
the
looked
best
great.
side.
No, no, don't get me wrong. He's looked great, but he just doesn't
You're
have the
right. I'll
minutes.
probably just go. I'll probably just go Kulusevski because I already said like
Yeah.
Spurs a great
And
tool game week 32.
exactly, and then he just sit there forever, like until
He's
you walk on if
4.7%
you want.
owned, so he's still the differential I'm
Yeah.
looking for in my 11.
Exactly.
And the thing is, I know Diaz has got Burnley next week, but then he's got Newcastle the week after that. So it's not like it's great run of fixtures for him for the next couple. Yeah, Bailey's the spicy one, but you're 100% right. I'm just gonna be adding another player I need to take out at some point because I'm sick of his rotation. I think Kulusevski's completely nailed, so probably gonna be Kulusevski. Sterling's twisting my head as well, but I don't trust Chelsea to double up.
4 yellow card.
Yeah, point. Could go Bowen.
Like Sterling and Palmer could potentially miss next week because both of them are on 4 yellow cards.
I think you're right. I think Kulusevski's the. I'm not going to Arsenal. I don't feel it. I just don't. I know they're going to run it. I'll go Salah to Arsenal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just feel like there could be more upside in Kulusevski with Everton, Brighton, Bournemouth in the next 3 compared to Arsenal, who have Liverpool, West Ham, and Fulham. Especially because Kulusevski is really like attacking and up there, and I like double ups. I mean, you can see I like double up and triple ups because I've got so many of them. But I just sometimes I like when I had Son and Maddison. I liked it. I liked watching the game. I liked them as FPL assets. It was good to watch. Defensively, no, I don't. I know I'm triple up on Newcastle, but I don't like it. But like I had Diaz Salah as a double up as well. I just good attacking teams and having 2 players from that attack. I like it.
I have no issue with that. I have no issue with double
I
attack.
got Diaby Watkins was perfect.
I have issue with Bailey and Diaby. That's my biggest issue.
Yeah, I think that's a problem. Like they are like they directly compete with each other.
Usually yes, but not always. Because you can see on the predicted lineup on Scout, it has them both playing.
I don't think this will be the case.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see.
All right. I think that'll close it for today, guys. A long one. So thanks for joining us. We won't be back for game week 19 because that's like midweek working for us, but we should be back the one after that, so next Thursday again for the game week 20. But look out for some shorts coming on the channel. We might pop some on about our teams or about captaincy or transfer choices and things like that. So thanks for joining us this week, guys. Hopefully we'll have a good one. Don't forget the deadline is today in just a few hours. Okay, make sure you make your moves early. Don't leave it too late because things will crash. So yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot, guys. As always,